Southern Arizona is waking up to local talk that matters. Wake Up Tucson, mornings with Chris and Joe on AM 1030 KVOI, The Voice.
Alrighty, 7:31 in the morning, Joe and Chris. It's the Wake Up Tucson show, 790-2040, wakeuptucson@gmail.com. Good morning to Jonathan Rothschild. What's going on, big guy?
Hey, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in and spending a half hour with us and talking about this crazy thing called the city of Tucson.
You got it.
So, as we say to all of our candidates, why? Why? What was the moment?
I don't know if there was a moment. I will tell you, I've talked to thousands of people, and every single one of them starts with that exact question. Why? I was born here. I'm going to live my whole life here. My wife, Karen, and I have been lucky enough to raise 3 beautiful children here. My oldest son, Isaac, is now working in our law firm, of which I was at first apprehensive and now proud because he's doing a great job. I have 2 other children who are away at school, away at college. My real goal is to have a town where they want to come back to and can come back to. 5 or 6 years ago, I got the feel that over this last decade now, what I grew up with has been slipping away.
Right.
And I've got a background in...
Now, did your family have a lumber business or some other business prior to...
No.
Was it always law? Was that
my
4th generation?
Yeah, my grandmother came here in 1942. She was a single mom, came from Chicago because she was a single mom. She brought my dad, who was 15 at the time. Because she was a single mom, she had to go to work. She opened a small used furniture store down on South 6th Avenue.
It was. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and worked that for a number of years, finally closed. She passed away a few years ago at 101.
Wow.
She worked until she was 96 years old. And if you know my dad, he's 84 years old, in the office every day, passionate about his work, passionate about this city. So I come to this naturally, this idea of a big job ahead of us and a lot of hard work and a passion to get it done.
And you took over the firm when there was like 3 or 4 lawyers or 5? Now it's up to 50? Or where you?
Yeah, there were 8 of us, and now there's 20 of us. I built the firm from 16 lawyers to 55. I've spent my career as a business lawyer. I'd
rather put bamboo shoots under my fingernails and run 20 lawyers. I don't know how you do it, but
one of the things I've said is I've also been president of my synagogue, and people say, well, how can you deal with that city council? And I say, if you can be president of a synagogue and manage a 20-person law firm, how hard can that city council really be?
Hey, when you're talking about as a guy whose family has such a long history in Tucson, and you talked about how you felt like in the last 10 years your city was kind of slipping away from you. What are the things that you identified that that you say, geez, how did this happen? Why did it happen? What were the things that were those signposts that said maybe it is slipping away? Well,
Chris, let me kind of tell it this way. When I went away to law school, I went to the University of New Mexico, and in 1981 that's when I graduated, and I could have stayed in the Santa Fe, Albuquerque area or come back to Tucson. And at that time, there was no question for anybody you were coming back to Tucson because it was a place that had a real friendliness, a real sense of community, and kind of an identity. And as I've watched the last decade, I've just felt that going away. I felt us tearing apart among ourselves, getting into pointless fights. And I just said, if somebody would step forth and be a leader that would always talk about bringing people together and finding best practices, maybe we can get some of that back.
And, I had stores in Albuquerque for a number of years, cell phone stores. And I would go there and visit. And this was back in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And it was like a 10-year flashback. I mean, you're from Tucson. And it seems like in the last 5 or 6 years, they've kind of caught up and surpassed. Their downtown's revitalized. They didn't have TIFs. The private sector came in. They got the university town. But they got what's the big Sandia Labs and Intel. And so very similar stories, but it's a lot about leadership and what the business sector is doing and where the place is going.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like we stumbled in the last 10 years, I think, as to where we're going.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And having had a history there in Albuquerque, have you been there lately? Have you gone back? And
I have some friends there still.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, it's a different place.
Yeah.
One of the things about Albuquerque is that it's the largest city between really El Paso, Phoenix, probably San Antonio, and Denver.
It's the Phoenix of New Mexico.
Yeah, here we're 60 miles from the Mexican border, and we've got Phoenix over us. and we really do have to identify who we are. But we've got some great strengths here. The University of Arizona, Raytheon, Davis-Monthan, the new biotech industries that are building. We still have incredible environment around us, desert spaces. We can build and be great.
Hey, when you talk about leadership in relation to Albuquerque and leadership kind of stumbling around here, where has the leadership stumbled? What specific things have they not done or have done that has not provided the raising tide for all boats?
There's a couple things I want to focus on, and this first one is going to sound soft, but I think it's important. Communication.
You could have said hugging. That would
have been softer,
yes.
No one in the city will tell you and has ever told you that Bob Walkup isn't the nicest guy in the world, and he is, and I will never be that nice a guy, even though people think I'm a pretty nice guy. You have to communicate with the people as to what you're doing, what your successes are, and if you're having trouble getting that out, you've got to just fight harder to get it out, whether it means coming on your radio show once every
day,
once every day, once every quarter, once every couple months, whatever. So communication is huge. The other one is really kind of an accountability issue. And I'm sure at some point, the other night I'm going to tell you guys, you guys are fun. You're not like the usual radio show.
Hell no.
Keep it interesting.
I was out at oh God, I just went off the air. Can you hear me?
You're fine.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You're good.
Oh, you lost your little mic.
I lost my mic.
Oh, that's no, it's not your mic. It's your headphones. We just pulled them out.
Okay.
You can put it back on if you want it. This is
Sorry
phone
about
calls.
that, guys.
That's okay. You're good.
Well, the story will make sense now once that happened. I was out doing a house party, and I gave my standard speech, and at the very end of it, it was outside, I think it was on Sunday night, the thunder, boom, 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 boom. And I said, I look up, everybody laughs, and I said, what did I say wrong? And then I stopped for a second. I said, oh, that must be the Rio Nuevo question.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And a lot of it's been about accountability, and I really say accountability that the mayor has to take charge of. And I have said that when I'm mayor, every city contract is going to have a person in the city who will be accountable to me. I'm not going to run the contracts, but that I can get reports on and know how the money is being spent. And ultimately then, I'm accountable to the people of this city. That's how democracy is supposed to work, and we need more of that.
So a commitment to transparency and accountability at the city of Tucson? Is that what you just said?
That's what I said.
Wow. Mark the tape, dude. I want to. That's good. If that happens, this whole show's been about transparency and accountability in this entire region.
Yeah.
So if that happens, more power to you, man.
So Jonathan, you've had an opportunity to be here for a long time, and we've seen many different forms of government and combinations of city managers and mayors. There's conversations: is the system broke? Not really, since Lou Murphy, who had the ability to kind of strong arm, work the public sector, and then herd his other six council people in with a really good city manager in Joel Valdez. Have we seen some activities and some things really happening? Not just one way, not business, not neighborhood, but kind of a balance of running this community. Have you had a chance to meet ex-city managers? Have you had a chance to meet the ex-mayors and kind of talk about what their histories were and their experiences to say, ooh, here's what we're in for, here's what's good, here's what's bad? What's your feedback on those kind of things?
I have, Joe. I've made a point. I've met with all three living mayors, Mayor Walkup, Mayor Miller, and Mayor Volge. I've met with as many city managers as I can find. As I told you off
There's a bunch of them all over the place.
There's more of them than there are mayors. And probably my most now, it's in retrospect, touching meeting was with Joel Valdez, who was Lou Murphy's manager, and Joel actually had a stroke. Yeah. So, and Joel, but really all of them said the same thing: is in this form of government, for better or worse, and there's strengths to it and weaknesses to it, and I think there's things particularly we can do to strengthen it. That you have to have a strong personality mayor and a strong administrator manager, and they have to work together hand in glove. That's the only way it works. It's interesting you mentioned Lou Murphy, who was a lawyer like I was, and a business lawyer. And, Joel came from this community. We're going to have an opportunity to look at and pick a new city manager. The current council has chosen Dick Miranda as the interim who
worked under Joel and has a history in the community.
Yeah, and so we'll see. But
Is the former government broken? Is it a case where it gets too politicized and the administrator can't just do his job and it gets goofy, or what do you think?
I mean, I don't know that it's broken. I really believe that one of the glaring problems is the mayor really ought to have a vote on termination of a manager if this hand in glove relationship is really it. If the manager can kind of just go off and not pay attention to the mayor, that could hurt the mayor a lot. So that's a change I'd like to see.
Right.
It's funny, and I understand when the last charter change thing ran, it ran behind a sales tax increase that it was sort of brought at the last minute.
Payroll increase, pay increase,
the pay increase, and all these policies run together, which is hard. But, of course, everybody believes, and I think it was true, the real reason it went down had to do with the pay increase. Again, I've been out for over a year now talking to thousands of people, and when I tell them what the city council makes and what the mayor makes, they go, oh, they ought to make more money. And I said, well, you just voted on that. You voted it down. So again,
is it a pay raise for you as a lawyer? Or are you going to?
No, that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Now, you're a law firm. What kind of? I know you've talked about you've done a lot of work with businesses. You do a lot of business stuff. Do you do any work with one of the questions that came up on my text is, you guys have done work for the city of Tucson too, right?
We have in the past. Right now, we only have 3 cases left. The city hasn't sent us any cases in a couple of years.
Okay.
I have already given up my interest in the firm.
Yep.
I've made it very clear that when elected, I will have no association with the firm. Our firm's work has been in defending claims and defending taxpayers' dollars. I've gone back and had to estimate. We think we've saved the taxpayers of this city several $100 million in defending claims. We've had some significant cases to defend and settled them when appropriate and defended them when appropriate. And quite frankly, watching that experience, because I've not been the first-hand guy on that, but watching that experience, I think has given me some sense of risk assessment. I certainly know how to read a contract.
Maybe one of the first people over there other than Kozaczyk who knows how to do that.
Well, I don't know about that, Chris, but
that's okay. Good answer.
But I think it'll help.